historically. Yeah, it's one of the big ones. It's one of the big Norman Rockwell deals for sure. We had a super non observant Easter day, very small, not a big fan of events because it usually is, but it wasn't today. So anyway, I should close this too because that's probably, this laptop is such a POS. It's like, what the fuck ever. Yeah, so in Gen, if anybody wants to play, put the link in here in Gen. Go ahead, I don't fucking... Oh, yeah, no, it's right here. I can put it right there. Gianni Suarez, yo. So one of the things Liz had mentioned that Ride's like doing 30th anniversary, this big 30th anniversary deal with Nowhere, which, like, they earned it, right? Nowhere's it's up there with Loveless. It's a huge deal, and like they don't get the cred, they don't get the whatever that MBV got, or even Slowdive. Like Ride didn't develop that kind of like massive, you know, we're the most important shit ever, blah blah blah. I mean, forget shoegaze, whatever. It's just really weird. Like they kind of never got a fair shake. I did like a mini little podcast thing when I was trying to figure out doing podcasting again years ago. A Ride to Nowhere about their, you know, the problem they had, which is they blew up super fast in England. But, you know, like you have an 8-month, you know, year window in England tops, right? And then by the time that's come and gone, then you're trying to make it in America. But like, you know, shit over here just goes so slow because the industry, you know, especially the industry back then, you know, they had so much control, and so stuff wouldn't just get through. It was this big motion. It was really, really hard all the way through the 90s. Like it was still super hard for non-American, bands that didn't have huge label deals. And even if they did, the US like arm of the label didn't give a shit about them because they were from England. And it would take, you hear more stories of bands breaking like freakishly than you do of bands kind of breaking with industry support. Like it took Radiohead for fucking ever to become as big a deal as they were, because it was they were considered a one-hit wonder on the back of grunge with Creep. They were not, no, the Bends did nothing over here. They didn't promote it. They didn't give a shit. So I'm trying to center myself. But anyway, yeah, so Ride's doing their victory lap and they deserve it, and I'm stoked for that. And Laws and all those guys are like, lifers, great. But it's fucked because they're doing these huge double vinyl reissues of everything. Nowhere is going to be like, you know, the real Nowhere album, not the, you know, the compilation that was demanded by US labels and whatever to append all this stuff. It's only got the eight, you know, songs from that session. It was in Blackburn or something. But the Nowhere reissue with the, you know, beautiful cloudy whatever vinyl is only going to be those 8 songs, and then they're going to do a double 12-inch of the EPs, which is kind of like, I don't know, I think it's kind of a little bit bullshit. But you know, whatever, they got to do it. This is the way you do nostalgia. This is the way you do reunions, and this is the way you get yourself back out there. And I think it's cool. The one thing that's cool about it is they're acknowledging Going Blank again, which for the longest time they really just, they sort of pretended like Going Blank Again didn't happen. It was the strangest thing because that record was so great and it was so fresh and different and moving away from shoegaze, and yet they like historically didn't embrace it. It's not like they treated it as with the amount of like shame and embarrassment as they did Carnival of Light or Tarantula. You know, those records were disasters, obviously. But now they are starting to, I think they've started to understand from fan response and from online, you know, whatever, that Going Blank Again was a super important record, and that they should be, you know, treating it alongside certainly Nowhere, which again, Nowhere was like the shoegaze Nevermind the Bollocks. It was a compilation of stuff sort of stitched together to make a full length. But they had, because they were an indie band, they had made their name on the EPs. So this is like, you know, this was the fall EP, and then, you know, the Play EP, and Chelsea Girl really essentially is, you know, this one. And then they get, you know, they get put together as Smile. You know, another thing that was weird, that got put together. And yeah, I know, that's what I was saying. They're doing this reissue thing of a big vinyl thing of the EPs as like 1-2 LP, and it's kind of like, I don't know. This stuff was super patchy. Like this is essentially, this was added to Nowhere. Like what they're marketing now with 8 songs in Nowhere is like this got added to it to make Nowhere a legit full length. But now it's getting considered part of the EPs, which is just, I don't know. I'm not saying it's ahistorical. Like all of this makes sense to Ride in their minds. Like to Ride, this is the way their discography went. This is how they made records, and these are the records they made in real time. And like I get that, but there's sort of a pragmatism that I think is kind of weird, because pragmatically for rest of world, you know, it's Smile, you know, at a clip maybe, and then Nowhere. And like that's how it really went for most of the record buying public. I mean, even in England, like apart from indie kids, nobody was clocking, you know, tons and tons and tons of Ride EPs, like as big as the indie scene was. And so like when you talk about reissuing Ride, the thing that's sort of weird and lame is that like they've been doing that forever. Like this, I reviewed this back in the Pitchfork days, which was like the best of box with the Rarities EP, and then like the Killer Live Reading Festival show in '92 that was like super infamous and so great. But you know, then they did the huge 20th anniversary of you know, of Nowhere, which is, I mean, it's really cool. It has the Roxy show they did, but it's just sort of bizarre because the Roxy show from '91 is like, it was like an industry showcase almost, and like this is an okay remaster. It's not fantastic. But it appends the Today Forever B-sides, you know, which are like celebrated and such a big deal, especially Senin. There's like a no stakes shoegaze band now called Senin, because the Today Forever EP, Vapor Trail essentially, was such a monster release. That's actually, I didn't even pull that out because, why didn't I pull that out? It's in here somewhere. I pulled out every Ride thing except for that. There it is. So in the US, you know, it was the Vapor Trail EP. It wasn't, you know, Today Forever like it was in the UK and abroad. But, you know, one of the most iconic album covers ever, sleeves of anything ever, Today Forever. Yeah, this is the original one I had like when I was a kid with it. And it's like the super generic Sire like disc, which is funny as shit. I don't know why, but yeah, they've kind of been doing it all along. I don't know. I mean, man, these would not be getting released in 2022. So this is the Leave Them All Behind and Twisterella EPs, and yeah, I just, you know, for some reason I feel like these wouldn't be coming out today in the packaging they did, but you know. I was a mega Ride fan. I was a Ride, you know, just a huge head of their shit when I was a kid, and you know, I'm glad for them. Like, you know, they're gonna have this big anniversary tour. I mean, it just seems like they haven't been able to like hit it in terms of their reunions, and like honestly, I don't think Slowdive did either. MBV is really just because people were so rabid and waiting for so long. They were the only ones that really like blew the fucking thing up on their reunion bid and really took it out of the park, but. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, they look like gorgeous sets. The vinyl looks great, but I'm so fucking anti vinyl reissues. I hate Record Store Day. I hate this whole fucking Newbury Comics exclusive bullshit. Like, this is honestly what like Jack White's complaining about. It's not that there are no record stores. It's not like we have a problem of not enough production pipeline available. It's that the all of those facilities are being used to, you know, put out reissues and you know, 180 gram bullshit vinyl and, you know, stupid color editions and crap. It's all just like vanity issues. It's not like new music on vinyl, and like nobody would be buying new music on vinyl. It's just, it's totally fictitious to suggest that like that's a market that exists or that would follow if we all of a sudden spun up tons and tons of pressing plants, and added to which pressing plants are like huge pollution factories. Like they're such fucking, like, vinyl is basically like diesel fuel and benzene. It's so fucking toxic and not good. So I think people need to kind of get their fucking shit together about what vinyl really has been and continues to be in terms of its validity. Like you see younger fans and stuff like clocking this stuff. You see people going to record store day and walking out with like $500 and shit, and then like trying to scalp it for all this money. Like it's such a fucking net negative for music and music fandom. And like, yeah, there's still so many CDs out there that are still cheap, and they're better audio fidelity than vinyl. Just straight up, they are. It's a fact. People are just fucking stupid about this. So yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, I have tons of vanity vinyl, but it's not like repressings. It's like OG shit. I did, I have like 2 or 3 of those dumbass record store day things, and I got them thinking that like they were something other than they ended up being, basically. But yeah, I mean, CD gang, what up? Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, anybody who's living outside like big cities and big city record stores, like, you can go to thrift stores and Salvation Army and shit. And I mean, yeah, a lot of the CDs are going to be shit, and they're going to be like, Christian fucking rock and like, classical and whatever. Like you're not, like, not every opportunity is going to be like flooded with good shit, but like certainly mainstream 90s stuff, you can buy the entire 90s, like, no problem. Everything, like, even if you have a fleeting interest in one good song per CD or whatever, you can get the whole 90s like in like 2 hauls. It's so easy. Like, why wouldn't you? It's fucking silly. Yeah, nobody. And I went to, so one of the things that like twinned this with these ride reissues, I went to Amoeba Kills Me, and similarly I went to go to the Newbury Comics on Newbury Street in downtown Boston, where I used to fucking like grow up, and Mystery Train and CD Spins and like 3 other stores there were 4 fucking record stores on Newbury Street alone. So now the only one left is Newbury Comics, and basically it's just Hot Topic. Like, Newbury Comics was bought like 10 or 15 years ago by this like mall company that just turned it into Funko Pops and bullshit. And like, you go in there and like, the whole point of going to those record stores used to be that the clerks would be super fucking like hardcore and know everything, and like you would come out of there not like having just bought a cool record or some shit. You'd come out of there like knowing more because of talking to the clerks. And like, all the bands used to work there. That was how they got their money. I've said this 100 times. Like the Gigolo Aunts, Mission of Burma, Juliana Hatfield, like they all worked as record clerks when they were still in college or just out of college and starting out in the bands and stuff. And it's just like, that whole thing is gone. So I go in there and like, it's literally a fucking Hot Topic store selling, the whole second floor. There's like multiple floors of it now, and they're selling like manga on the second floor, is all manga books. And then like shitty, fake, bad repressed posters, and just tons and tons of fucking overpriced $40 is like entry point now for vinyl. And like, it's so fucking weird to me. Like, it's such a sad shell of real like music culture. Like, real music culture right now is 100% used CDs, and it has been for the past like 5 years. We've all been talking about this, and it just gets worse and more dramatic every year. And it's just it's super weird to me that like because vinyl used to be what the heads would do, the crate digging, and all that culture was all about, well, we don't want to forget all these great records, and nobody's listening to vinyl anymore, and blah blah blah. And then now CDs become that. It's weird. Have I talked about Wet Leg? Yeah, I talked about them in the Chord. I don't, I again, like, my take on this is that Wet Leg is like, it's one of those bands that lets boomers and like high side Gen Xers feel cool again, because it sounds like bands they listened to when they were in their 20s. So like, for me, when I hear Wet Leg, it sounds like all kinds of shit that was around when I was a kid. So yeah, it's familiar, but that's sort of gross to me. And there have been multiple, they're not the first and only band to do this. There are so many bands where it's like, you're way too young to sound like this. Like this doesn't make sense. Hatchie was like that, even though I loved Sure, the Robin Guthrie single. And it's like, well, clearly Robin Guthrie and some other things helped flesh this out for you. Like, what was that other, there was another female singer, was she called like Phaser Days or something? That was like way more honest and believable to me. And like Biaba Doobie or whatever, she is more sort of believable to me than Wet Leg. Wet Leg is like super studied, you know, like archaeology of, it just feels like algorithmic to me, even though, yeah, it sounds like indie and it's so shambolic and imperfect, right? I don't know. You know, there's a couple songs on there. There's a song toward the end. It's like Too Late or something, or Too Something. It's like the second to last song on that Wet Leg record that just came out. It sounds like the Darling Buds or like the Primitives or something. Like it's just, and it's also such a survey, the record. Like similar to how grossed out I was that Ann Powers made like a playlist lending all of this credibility to Wet Leg. Like, well, I can't even remember what it was called. It was like How Wet Leg Became Wet Leg or some shit. And it's got like fucking Iggy Pop and the Velvet Underground. And it's like, give me a fucking break. Like, yeah, the whole history of rock music, it really aligned itself to deliver Wet Leg. Thank God. It's really silly, and just NPR is so shamelessly involved in trying to break this band, but to me it just seems like such a disconnect. Like 4chan kids and like young kids and stuff, I don't know that if I was in that age range, like, you know, and look, I'm not saying that I'm in favor of the whole like industry plant bullshit. I was making noise like that more about my peers back when I was doing the videos and shit 10 years ago. I was talking about people that were essentially my peers. I was not talking about like younger artists. I think that's a really shitty thing that, you know, that has been thrown at everybody, you know, in the psychosis around Mitski, Claro, all these artists. It's like they can't even do anything. Like if they get presented in a positive light, they're industry plants. Like that's fucking bullshit, you know. And I do see dialogue around when I check things out. When some people start leaning into that really heavy, it's starting to be a thing that people will be like, shut the fuck up, it's always been like that. You know what I mean? And like, good. That's what I want people to realize. Like, this is not news. Most bands, I've always said this, were either rich or broke. Like, there's no middle ground here. So it's much more likely that any band you're listening to is pretty fucking well off. Anyway, All Shook Down has like 2 good songs. Yeah, sure. Anyway, I didn't hear of them till a week ago. You know, that's when their album came out, dude. I think more people are against the fake DIY narratives and industry plants in general. Yeah, no, the fake, I mean, but this is the thing. It's like anytime anybody comes out, I think people just need to stop talking in terms of authenticity. This is the big problem. Like, authenticity is this trap that you get into in your teens and 20s, and it's very priggish, and it's so totally immaterial to the thing that you're talking about, which is music. Like, rich people can make great music. You know, I don't really think, you know, the whole Fugazi, self-righteous, you know, fictitious notion of punk. Like, punk was a joke from day one. The Sex Pistols signed to EMI and Virgin. Like, give me a fucking break, man. I think the whole notion of standoffishness and paranoia being cool and authentic is really fucking misguided. It's just difficult to talk about this stuff, and I hate the fact that what I was complaining about, you know, a decade ago when I was going off, was about the infiltration of advertising and favoritism. You know, people doing favors for their friends' bands, not because they were rich or that they were industry plants or whatever. It was like, you're in a position to deliver new dialogue via the internet that is cleaner than in the past. But the second that you got the power to know that your voice would actually shift dialogue, you totally fucking abused it. And it happened with Death Heaven and Brandon, and it happened with Sarah Dupuis and everybody who hooked up Speedy Ortiz and a million bands. I mean, EMA, do you remember her? Does anyone remember EMA? Like, yeah, you know, it's just like buddy buddy. And that's what made me fucking nuts, because I was just like, guys, this is such bullshit. you're so fucking hypocritical and corrupt, and you're just selling this bullshit to hook people up and party and do coke, and like it sucked. But anyway, that's so boring. We've been over it a million times. What favors did I see that were happening? Oh my god, like every band that got promoted at Pitchfork from 2012 till they got sold, like 2011, really. Like it was just all buddy buddy. Anyway, and just whatever. It's just, you know, that happened at Rolling Stone too. When Rolling Stone got big, they had the same kind of crisis of friends of friends of friends. Like Rolling Stone is sort of the reason Elvis Costello got canceled, because he offended their buddy, Stephen Stills, theoretically. So Rolling Stone used to throw their weight around too in a very corrupt way back in those windows, you know, before you get into, you know, like Dave Marsh is kind of like when it started to get a little more puritanical and like respect, you know, the liturgical position we're in and all that bullshit. Pitchfork never did that because Ryan sold it. And so now it's just become, you know, the safest corporate dialogue it can be. What time is it? Fuck me. The Maishi? Oh my god, I remember them. What else? Oh, I pulled a bunch of records, but not because I was going to do pulls, but because I'm going to rip these. So I haven't got like, I don't have like flax and stuff of a bunch of my vinyl, and I went on a little bit of a splurge recently that I was talking about on the Discord, but I found there was some old ones that I realized like I have like shitty MP3s of, and I never re-ripped to flax. So this was a great one. This is the 10-inch where Magic Hour covers Permanent Green Light. It's really, really good. But I mean, it's sort of aimless. It's Magic Hour, so it's like, it's jam band shit. It's Damon and Naomi and whatchamacallit, Wayne Rogers. Oh, and Kate Baker was in the band at this point. I'm not sure she was in all the way through to More Sad Hits, but anyway, yeah, this was a good one. I don't know if, I'm sure this is on Bandcamp because Damon puts a lot of that stuff on Bandcamp. There's been a Discord for a long time. I didn't start it. I'm not like the Discord I had years ago is not, this is people that were in it started another Discord, and the link is like aroundish. You know, if anybody, if one of the admins wants to post it in here, like do it up, but yeah, I mean, I know that the Chord's been adding more people, and I'm in there a lot rather. So anyway, yeah, and then I had some other 10 inches too, like this. I love this, man. I just love having it, it's not a big deal, but it's the original EP before, right before Sam I Am got signed to Atlantic. They did the 10-inch of Don't Break Me, and it just, it's kind of in your head, like, there's no question that CDs are the best representation of the sound, but because of all the frequency ceiling and basement you get when you listen to vinyl, like the bass kind of blows up. It's almost like it gets excited, it's a technical term, like when you excite a track, you're basically trying to, you know, get the wave more headroom and let it get out. And like when I just remember like hearing this on vinyl, it just absolutely exploded. And you know, it was an early 90s CD, and like early 90s, like 80s obviously CDs, like they sound like shit because they're mastered with such a low dB ceiling that like they're super quiet, and there's nothing about CD playback that allows amplification to, you know, excite, like I say, and fill that, where with vinyl, because a vinyl needle is a microphone, it does amplify the waveform, and so you get this different perception, and sort of it's actually a distortion of the pure mastered track. So I got to rip that one. The Heads Down 7-inch, yeah, I mean, everybody who can get that, it's just so good. I mean, again, I think that, you know, all this stuff is probably on Bandcamp because Damon puts everything out. And then again, like this one's a classic I've shown a million times, the Boys Life Christie Front Drive 10-inch. This is like peak emo, Crank Records, Caulfield Records. Like this was like the heyday of all that shit. And I don't have like a, you know, a lossless rip of this, so I got to re-rip this one. This is back when Hammer Press was doing like most of the indie vinyl in the country, and man, yeah, just pure nostalgia. But like, again, I don't have a lossless rip, so I got to re-rip that. Yeah, it's totally like, it is the best To me, that 10-inch is the best thing that happened in all of emo. Like, I hated most of it. Like, I hated the Gloria record. I didn't like Mineral. Most of these bands were just so hysterically full of shit and full of themselves. Rainer Mario was so embarrassing. Like, I didn't like the Promise Ring, like all the pop emo bullshit. I liked very, very few emo bands, but the ones I liked, I fucking loved. And it was like a lot of the Nebraska Midwest shit, like Boys Life, I think is Kansas City or St. Louis or Kansas City, you know, and then Vitreous Humor was my favorite. I talked about them in the Jeff Rickley podcasts, Jeff from Thursday. You know, he just celebrated the 20th anniversary of Full Collapse, too. I was texting him about it. It's fucking hilarious. For him, like for anybody who was in a band and had a big record, to be like, holy shit, that record's 20 years old. Like, wow, that's super fucked, man. I can't imagine that shit. How do I rip my vinyl? I have a USB DAC that goes, it's grounded off the box itself, so it's in phase, and yeah, I just ripped straight into Wave from an analog USB converter, digital audio converter, and I just ripped the Cure Wish. The Vitreous Humor EP is really good. Yeah, that's got like She Eats Her S's and Looper and shit. Like that was the with the black like photograph on it. It's so good. And then they like blew it and became The Regrets, and that sucked. That record was terrible. But yeah, that dark original like 6th song or something that has like the my first cigarette was a long goodbye. It was like dancing or something. Such a good tune, man. And then they had the killer 7-inch with that instrumental that's now, there was a CD that came out of comp, because of course every emo indie band breaks up and they do a CD comp of all their shit, their rare shit that was like released 18 months before. But there's a Vitreous Humor thing called Posthumous that has their 2 killer 7-inches that were never on other albums or anything, which is Why Are You So Mean to Me, which was such a big, like Just Like Heaven style, straight ahead, awesome emo pop song that Nada Surf ended up covering and making completely cheesy after they had their big hit. They covered Why Are You So Mean to Me on their sophomore album after they blew up. Fucking hilarious. Nada Surf. But yeah, Vitreous Humor were good shit. And then there was that, I can't remember the name of that instrumental, but it was, it was so good. Boys Life were great. Why Are You So Mean to Me is my favorite Blade track. They just released it, and I didn't know they played with Cursive not too long ago. That's amazing. Do I know the story about them in Not a Surf? No, I think they probably, I don't know. Not a Surf were like supposed to be good guys or something that were involved in music, or I don't know, man, whatever. Mercury Revs, The Hum Is Coming From Her. 10-inch from your Self-Esteem era. I don't know if this ended up on that effed up, that weird limited CD, which I have here somewhere. I should probably just pull that because it's probably right behind me. Yeah, it is. Hold on. What is it? Shot Forth Self-Living. That's Medicine. What am I talking about? Where's the Mercury Rev one? Bronx Cheer, Bosie's Your Self-Esteem. Delta, what is this? That's Delta Bottleneck. Where's the thing? Where's the fucking... Oh, did I get the 2 CD version of the... Is that why? Because they did a... Mercury Rev did like a closet cleaning crazy... it was basically a full length that... what the hell is it called? I don't know. I don't see it here. I don't know where it is. Maybe I have it on vinyl? That would be weird. But Mercury did like a closet cleaning comp with all the crazy like acid shit that was going on, and this is like got the theremin sextet and all this weird shit on it. It's really fucking harsh, hilarious shit. I just wanted to pull it because I wasn't sure if it's on that weird. Again, I can't remember the name of it. It's some standalone. You'll see it on Discogs. A record producer tried to push "Why Are You So Mean to Me" as a big hit song, forcing various bands to cover it until he got Not a Surf too. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I would have done the same thing. Like, you know, like if you hear a great indie song that doesn't get its due, you want to figure out how to get it out there. I mean, that shit's not new. Like, all major label artists, there's just like CDRs all over the fucking studio of songs like that from bands that didn't make it or broke up, or songwriters that didn't make it and couldn't get a deal. And like, if you're already famous and you don't have the time to write a hit song, well, just take this one and you'll get a co-writer credit. I mean, people are a lot less concerned about that now than they used to be. Expert Knob Twiddlers is awful. It's, you know, I have the Jake's Lassinger 12-inch over there. I didn't pull anything like that. Appleseed Cast, yeah, Low Level Owl was a big deal. They went on way too long, longer than they needed to. There's going to be a second Failure documentary. Well, I missed the first one. Yeah, there's something for Joey CD has the Ron Jeremy interview. Lego My Ego, thank you, JM. That's what I was talking about, Lego My Ego. So I don't know if that has the tracks that are on this. I think it probably does, but Lego My Ego is completely insane. It has like because like Car Wash Hair was supposed to be a standalone single, and then Columbia made him put it on the record, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. This is cool. So I found this one at Last Vestige. Oh my God, it was a cutout. It's a good album cover. Literally, that's all Expert Knob Twiddlers is worse. So this is the single edit. They actually did a single edit of Dog End of a Day Gone By Love and Rockets. One of my favorite songs of all time. But this single edit, I don't even think this was on the deluxe reissue of Seventh Dream of Teenage Heaven. It's weird. It was a promo only, and I just don't know. I haven't looked because I have that, but for some reason I thought that it wasn't on there. And then, oh, this is the promo for Portishead. Welcomes Careful Drivers. I got to rip this too, because this has that, the killer version of whatchamacallit that was on, what was it on? The Craft soundtrack or something? That totally insane version of, what the fuck ever. You know what I mean? And then what else did I pull? Oh yeah, Glove Box, this weird Aussie band. I don't know if there's any Aussies out there. There was this band Glove Box that was like a big alt band. They put out a bunch of records. It's pretty, you know, it's just middle of the road 80s, you know, alternative rock or whatever. But it's pretty. I don't know. It's just because it's so cheap. You know, like vinyl from that period and like Aussie stuff is like, you can get it for nothing, so why not just check it out? Were Seam related to emo? No, not at all. Seam were an Oberlin college band. They had absolutely nothing to do with emo. They were like an indie band in the most straight up sense. Like, you know, they were coming out of Bitch Magnet, which is literally like a college band. So Young Park did while he was at Oberlin with like Liz Phair and shit. You know, it's I loved Seam, but they were very much like Seam. You would say Seam. You would say it's hard to explain because Mac from Superchunk played drums on the first record, Head Sparks, and like they were just around in the same way that like Ash Bowie was around, and like there was just a whole bunch of bands like that that were all just kind of indie bands that were, I mean, because you know, Seam they were huge into codeine and that whole scene. Like indie at that time was so small and fractious, like because hardcore was still kind of everything, and so you had like lo-fi kind of response to hardcore, Sebadoh, you know. You know, Daniel Johnston getting promoted too as part of this like move away, and obviously K Records trying to move away from that. But then like you had the more emotional stuff that like you know, you could say like Seam is very informed by mid-tempo English music from the 80s, like Echo and the Bunnymen. I mean, it's more sparse, but you know, it's just mid-tempo, and it just doesn't have the bombastic aspects of all that big English music. It's very quiet, it's very small, it's got that kind of headspace to it. And yeah, so you know, I've got lots of Seam, but this is the Colonel EP. You know, I've had this since college. You know, this has the best version of it has Shame on it too, which is Velocity Girl. adjacent, and it has Driving the Dynamite Truck, which is like one of my absolute faves, man. Driving the Dynamite Truck. It's by this band called Breaking Circus, and it was like a mid-tempo, Chicago, angsty sort of Naked Ray Gun kind of band. I think they were from there, but they had this song Driving the Dynamite Truck, and Seam turned it into a slowcore like codeine song, and it's so fucking good. But this is the good version of Sweet Pea. The version on The Problem With Me sucks compared to this, which isn't a problem because there's so many other fucking amazing songs on The Problem With Me. You got Something's Burning, obviously. That wasn't my, Raphael, and Road to Madrid was the big anthem, but the drums were too hard for their drummers. So, yeah, there's the CD version of it. The drums were too hard for their drummer. Colonel is actually a great tune too. The lead off track on the title track on the CP, Colonel's awesome. It's like, it's much more like a leftover from Head Sparks, like a Atari or songs like that on Head Sparks. It's really kind of straight ahead, 4/4, kind of gloomy indie pop stuff. But yeah, Road to Madrid was like the anthem. That was like the one that blew everybody away. I was like obsessed with that song, with being able to play that song on drums, like the end of it, the finale of it, and where is all that stuff? Oh, there's Are You Driving Me Crazy, and then or Am I Driving You Crazy? I can never tell. Oh, and there's Head Sparks. So like S is where my alphabetizing stopped, and I haven't finished it. And there's The Problem With Me. So yeah, that's everything. So yeah, The Problem With Me, classic. Obviously I would have it on CD. I wouldn't have it on vinyl because it just wasn't what people were buying then. I think, isn't this one like, if you there was a vinyl pressing of this, and it's probably like $250 or something. A lot of them were all Chicago gang. Yeah. Then there's Head Sparks. I think Numero Group reissued this because they at this point release everything. This is great. There were every song I used to try and write, like when I didn't know how to play guitar, would be a rip off of either Pins and Needles or Atari. And Decatur, the first song on this, is fucking awesome. But yeah, this was like this weird project because I think Mac from Superchunk was living in New York when they did this. I can't remember. And then yeah, this was the big, like, after The Problem With Me did relatively well, it was like they really took it up a notch, and this is way more produced, Are You Driving Me Crazy? And it was like a big bone of contention that they had horn. They had the horns from on Rainy Season. It was like, whoa, guys, I don't know if we're putting, languid trumpet at the end of songs. It's a little bit much, guys. But the one I love on this is Hail Redux. Hail Redux is so fun. Howley Redux, rather. Howley Redux. And Petty Thievery is great. It's like a throwback to Head Sparks. Like, it's just like a straight up pop punk song. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Seam Diversion. Yeah, they were great. And then what else? Oh, and then yeah, well, that plays into sort of Bedhead too, right? Because Bedhead was like, we talked about Karate and Bedhead and all that. Like, this is just all, firmament for me. This was all I listened to, was bands like that in the mid '90s, like, totally. And now it's, yeah, it's getting its moment, it's getting its day. It deserves it, like, great. I think it's weird because when you go into reissue culture like this, like, kids don't know what to make of it. If you weren't there, and the Numero Group is going to come around and tell you, like, Bedhead was the most important band of all time, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, they were very much like a shared secret. You're not going to put, like, The Unpredictable Landlord on a mixtape, and, like, the person who hears it is going to be like, oh, I got to hear more of that. It's a really specific thing. All these bands were very, very specific things that appealed to a very small audience. And, like, when you start talking about it in terms of reissue nostalgia and reissue canonization, and, like, you're using all these huge hagiographic, completely over the top terms about bands that just, like, yeah, they were enjoyed or whatever, but, like, yeah, they played like 2 real tours. It's sort of silly. I saw Bedhead in Boston like twice, and I think that's maybe half the shows they ever played there. I don't know. And they were great. And they totally got it too. They knew that like a lot of their fans were super into them almost because of the cover of Disorder, and they always played it as their encore, almost always. But it did get sort of, you know, I always talk about there was this website Brainwashed that was really big into that like kind of like scene or whatever. And like, yeah, was there a noise around Bedhead? There was a bit. They seemed like a real band. They didn't seem like a local band, I guess is a way I would distinguish Bedhead. Karate were a Boston band. They didn't travel at all. Like, I don't care if they toured the world. They didn't have any rec outside Boston. Bedhead absolutely did. Their rep and their records did travel. But, you know, what is that worth? And how big a deal is it? Yeah, U.S. Maple box set. That's another weird one. People tend to just like cut and run after the first U.S. Maple record. They're like, well, they accomplished their deep theory of anti-music, and that's all that needed to be said. I don't know, man. I think they're kind of, their later stuff was a little bit cooler in a way. It was like fucked up and more hard, but yeah, I don't know. What was the other thing I had that was so fucking funny? Oh yeah, this was pretty sick. I forgot I had this. I went through this weird period where I was like, this is kind of hard to explain. I was like 18 or 19, something like that. And I got super into the movie Christiana F, and like I had a giant Subway poster of it, which I've since lost and is probably like priceless now because it got like it got ripped up when I moved or something. But I had like a 60 by 40 poster of Christiana F, and I had the I had the soundtrack on vinyl. And this movie is so fucked up in harsh realm, man. It was fucking awesome. But anyway. Their cover of Disorder blowing up on Spotify is probably half the reason why there has been a bit of a revival. How did it blow up? Just because of it being the same name as Joy Division? I don't get it. Acre Thrills is shit. Yeah, it's good. What a phase to have. Yeah, it was a pretty grim phase, not gonna lie. Was not in the best place in my life. Got some Melvin's vinyl. I wanted to see what happened as a thing. Like, this is some of the only, like, I didn't buy vinyl in the 90s, but just because of the cover art, like, you had to. I did buy, Houdini, and it is the OG AmRep edition, and I'm curious to see how that'll sound on vinyl, and just for Squeedus, like, really honestly, I also am gonna try and rip Stoner Witch with, that record's gotten sort of better attention, I think, over time. Oh, and then I have the Bedhead 10 inches too. I got the Dark Ages and Lepidoptera. I mean, whatever. I mean, the Dark Ages. This was probably my favorite thing of theirs in terms of original songs, I'd say. Has that happened with Codine's cover of Atmosphere? I doubt it. I also doubt it's happened with Lowe's cover of whatever the fuck they covered. That whole thing where they did that Joy Division fucking tribute album was so embarrassing, where they had like Moby's New Dawn Fades, which was in the movie Heat, but they did what the hell did they call that thing, that yellow and green awful Joy Division cover album in '96 or something. God damn, that was awful. Low did Transmission, and it was so dumb. A Means to an End. Yeah, what a pile of shit that was. Pointless. Do I have Bullhead? Yeah, of course I got Bullhead, but on CD. I don't have Bullhead on vinyl. That was on Boner Records, dude. Like, good luck finding Boner Records vinyl. That's got to be fucking ridiculous to find. All right, it's after 7. I gotta fucking wrap it up. Oh, I did find, by the way, and I'm living in the box. I found it on fucking 12-inch. What's up? This was $3. And I got the 12-inch dance mix, and is it dance with an S? Oh my god, it is. No, wait. What did they do? Holy shit, they're like playing a game. This is so crazy. Wait a minute. Oh no, that's too bad. It's just an offset with the ink. So there's the penthouse mix, the edited dance mix, and then the dance mix. 6 minutes and 10 seconds of Living in a Box by Living in a Box from the album Living in a Box. Nine Inch Nails doing Dead Souls on the Crow soundtrack. Well, that was okay. I mean, that makes complete sense, right? How could that not? I mean, Closer is the most forensic, that song, you know, by Nine Inch Nails is the most forensic recreation of how many lines were snorted off that 12-inch. Probably the same as were snorted off this one. Got to have this. Talk about a song slapping. That's one that deserves that word. What the hell else did I even have? It's just stuff I want to try and record more than anything. Oh, but then the people on this, well, who's on this? It's mostly the chord. They're not going to know that I got the Spectrum record. So if there's anybody in here that's not in the chord, they can see that I got the Spectrum 1990 full on. So sick. This was it's the third most I've ever paid for anything musical in my life, honestly. Like, this was stupid. But yeah, I had to have it. And I just feel like it's the condition it was in. I was like, fuck this, I have to get it. It's never going to come around again. It's not going to be in this good condition. Do we have any Helium? Yeah. First few Helium records were great. Brian Dunton, the bass player, he like trained me kind of as an audio engineer at Fort Apache. This is when Belly was recording their first album, and the Breeders were recording Last Splash. Well, no, Kim and Kelly were doing the demos for a country album that never got released, which is where Driving on 9 came from. I have the DATs for this because he was really cool and gave them to me, but they were, they were trying to do a full-on country album. Kim and Kelly deal with Tanya Donnelly. That was going to be like, after Pod, they were like, we're going to do a country album. It was so weird. And they did a whole bunch, like 8 demos of shit. Like, there's a Merle Haggard cover in there, I think. And then they just scrapped that, and Belly blew up, and you know, it was all over, and she took off. And then it took a while for her to get Last Splash done, but she had like the original demo of Divine Hammer. That wasn't the lyric, and it's like really kind of, it's almost like a Eddie Rabbit song. It's fucking awesome. So then I did pull this because it's just so funny to me. I can't believe, I think this goes for like incredibly stupid money right now, doesn't it? And it's just fucking so funny that like, this is a big, like, first of all, I mean, to the extent that I was involved in hyping the Swirlies forever, but yeah, can you see that? I paid $3.99 for this album. Yeah, and it was just because I was like, oh, I love this cover art so much, I want to have it on a 12-inch. I bought this in 2000 in Boston. It was just sitting there in like a cutout for $3, $4. Like, I've had it ever since, you know. I mean, I had the CD like the fucking week it came out. The big one though is Blonder Tongue, because I mean, sorry, not Blonder, is Wild Youthful Days. So Salons was never released on vinyl because they fell out with him, and so the only place you can get it is that double vinyl issue they did when they did the remix piece of shit with Rich Costey. So that thing goes for fucking stupid money, I know, and that's fine. I mean, I don't know what the point would be. It's the same master. There was only ever a master for CD. He didn't do vinyl with it, but people are idiots. I mean, they'll buy anything. Tang had some cassettes still available, even the CD. I have the cassette too. I have all of that shit. I have a sealed copy of the first record, What to Do About Them, on cassette. It's over there somewhere. I have a bunch of weird shit like that. just because it was all Boston bands, man. I mean, it was like just around, you know, whatever. In Harmony, Newfound Freedom always slaps. Yeah, it does slap. Everything slaps. It's all a bop. It's a heater, man. And then, yeah, the other one, too, because of the album art, I wanted to have it on vinyl. So I have this from 92 as well. Because it was, you know, again, you wanted to have it because it was a really fucking cool cover. But, yeah, I don't know. It's weird when I think about this stuff and I think about, like, all the reissue bullshit. It's strange. My mic will carry with me, actually. It's just strange how it distorts everything. And, like, you don't want to be the predictable fucking old loser that's like, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, let people have their shit. Like, who's left that's my age besides people, like, at Numero, you know what I mean? Like, they're the only ones left that even give a shit. So for me to be like, no, this is bullshit, it's kind of fucking lame. Like, just let it go, you know, right? Let them do whatever. But I do kind of want to offer, like, a little bit of the, you know, the reality that, like, this is just not, like, why do people need it to be, you know, that, all of that? I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, here it is. Yeah, I did find it. It's fucking funny. Sealed. Oops. Oh boy. That's broken. I broke stuff. Oh well. Before I sign off. Yeah. Sealed. What to do about them on cassette. And then the other one too I have, which is funny, and I bought these literally because they were sitting on a cassette rack at Newbury Comics, and I was like, oh, I should just get those because I think they were like $2. Is Hate Your Friends on cassette, which is, you know, OG. This record's so fucking good. I love this shit. I always love, like, I'll always love, like, hardcore old stupid Lemonheads. It's fucking awesome. And then just because it was next to it, I pulled the fucking Blue Sunshine, the glove cassette. Guys your age were the ones picking out the groups that were interesting in the 70s, 80s. Yeah, maybe. So the cool thing about this is they actually had a sticker on it, which is fucking crazy. This is the UK Polydor issue of it, and they created a custom fucking sticker for the glove cassette, which I would never have, like, I mean, The Cure weren't even big when this came out. Like, Love Cats had barely even happened. It's a pretty fucking crazy, unique thing for them to have done. I mean, obviously cassette was like the main format at that time, or becoming it. But yeah, I always thought that was super fucking cool. Love the shrinked album cover negative space cassette. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like you, to save money, like you would never, like you don't want to make custom art, so you just fucking shrink the fucking vinyl to a square and then just put like the record. Like, so much stuff is like that. The fucking Cure Happily Ever After is like this. I'll pull it and then I gotta go. Where the fuck is it? Yeah, it's here. It's so funny. Like, this is a major fucking release too. Like, what? Oh yeah, what the fuck do I have? Oh man, yeah, I have this. Fuck. This is actually like monster fucking sick to have. I don't know if this would be rare or whatever, but I'm pretty stoked to have it. I don't know if it's rare. I don't know. Maybe. But I'm glad I have it. Which is the fucking 83 to 85 on cassette. Back in the day, bought this in probably, when did I buy this? It would have been 1990. I would have bought this. But it's the Feel Good All Over K split version. I think it came out then. So it's not like the original K tape that Calvin was circulating, but it is the FGA one, which was, you wanted it because it had like a ton more songs on it. But Bad Seeds. But yeah, like I was saying about the Lemonheads, like they even did this for mainstream shit. Like this is The Cure's Happily Ever After, which is a compilation of 17 Seconds and Faith. And they did the same thing, and this was just super common. This is an A&M cassette. You know, A&M was a massive fucking label, and this is what they used to do, you know, lazily for cassette issues. So that's funny. Anyway, all right, what time is it? Yeah, I gotta shut it down. It's almost 7:30. That CD is expensive now too. I have it, and the reason I have it, and I think I sent the vinyl to someone who's in the chord, and that's exactly right. It has different mastering, so you actually really, really want this. And I have rips of it I can put up on the D box if people don't have it, but A&M's masters of 17 Seconds and Faith are different from the Fiction ones. So the when they did this, they did their own masters. Like A&M was super fucking weird about it or something. And so the CD of Happily Ever After is like the absolute best thing. Like early Cure is weird like this. The Sire CDs all suck. The Elektra CDs all suck. You want to get the German CDs on Fiction, the EU CDs, which like for the top, it's a huge fucking deal. The Sire top sounds like shit compared to the EU West German one, and this is just totally unique because it was a completely like standalone one-off deal for Happily Ever After to try and get that out in the US. And so the vinyl, which I think I gave it to somebody here in the chord, it just sounds fucking amazing because Faith was a pretty fucked up production. Like it's very extreme. And the bass and the low end is very blown out. And 17 Seconds similarly has a lot of punch in the kick. And when they did the mastering and stuff for the US, it's just not as good. So I don't know. Well, I don't know where we can put the chord. Have I listened to the remaster of Cupid and Psyche? No, I haven't. But I would agree that was a really incredible, unique production that would not need remastering. Like they were at the top of the game at that time. I'll let you guys try and figure out how to paste the chord link for a minute, and then I got to drop. But yeah. Oh, I did get this, by the way. Somebody in the chord is a big Warren freak, but I got the box. Just because, why not? I love his music, and in the 90s, His Name Is Alive was just absolutely monster for me. So when he did this whole pivot to reissuing all this diddly-da he did when he was a kid and kind of tried to Aphex Twin himself a little bit, I was like, okay. There's the invite. I'm sure you guys can assemble it. There is a waiting room for anybody who's going to be joining, where you will be sort of vetted. Zachary David found my essays in 2014. Oh, cool, man. Thank you. Yeah, I used to write. It's kind of pointless now. But everything changes. Like there's somebody out there now who could be a great, essayist and voice for what people are going through now. I think I was you need to be like 5 or 6 years older than the music scene that's happening for it to really work the way it did for me when it worked. And then you get to a point where you're too much older, and I've made this joke forever. And it's just like, you can't talk that way anymore. Like there's no stakes there for you. So you just like, you really shouldn't have deeply twisted feelings about that. Like I'm in my late 40s now officially. So it's like, I really don't have deep thoughts about pop music except to just say what it feels like to me, what's recognizable to me. It's for the younger, generations to make that noise and decide what they want and how they want it to get to them and whatever. I'm putting out records now. Like that's what I'm doing. I'm releasing as many records as I can in the next however many years, and just because I think it's very doable, and I think that people do it gets people motivated or excited, and I don't see that happening, which is why I'm doing it. Like people put out tapes and they have Bandcamp labels and stuff, but they're all these little rooms. It's like there's a couple, there's 100 people in a room, and they're all just in this little room. And I don't think record labels are valid. I don't think they make any sense, like from a marketing or branding perspective. They're over. They don't work. There's no need for it. Everything is about the artist. But like if I can help the artist via this, you know, get some CD out or record or whatever, um, that creates a spike, right? You know, like being able to finance that, and as long as I get the guess right and it makes the money back, then I can put the money back, and it's like I'm recycling it. It's like a revolving credit line. Um, if I put out a whole bunch of stuff and none of it sells, and the bands aren't, you know, catching on or whatever, whether it's via the little room I have in terms of the mail lists and people that I am still in touch with, and then their fan base, if that combined doesn't work, then I'm not going to be able to keep doing it. Like, I can't like throw money away at it. But the cross CD has done well, and go get your own copy today. And it's fun. It's something that it makes more sense to me to be doing it, at this age, to actually like make stuff and let that just have its life and do whatever it does. 1 Mile North record. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen there, but anyway, cool. Yeah, looking forward to some people joining the court. I guess that would be kind of cool. I just unlocked the Hipster Banana post about it, but yeah, anybody that wasn't in the court or wants to come on in, like it's pretty poppin'. The court's pretty active. A lot of people do DJ nights and stuff like that, and very knowledgeable people. So yeah, gonna piece it on out. 7:30, good wrap, and I'm gonna go play Fortnite with my kid. I'm kidding.